Well, welcome everyone. My name is Mandy Seetaller. I am the Vice Chairperson of the National Child Passenger Safety Board, and I'm also the statewide CPS coordinator for Alaska. I want to welcome you all to our state coordinators meeting for this month. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really glad that you're here. Again, please remember to put your name and where you're from in the chat box. We'd love to hear from you. If you will remember to mute your lines so that we can hear our speakers. And if you are driving, please pull over or disconnect from the call. We are not allowed to continue the call if anyone is driving. So we are going to go ahead and get started. We've got a lot of really great content today. We're going to be talking about technician retention, and we are going to begin with Shushanna from Safe Kids Worldwide. And then we will move on to Bevan and Allan from the North Carolina CPS Coordinators. And then we'll talk about our January meeting dates. So Shushanna, I will go ahead and turn this meeting over to you. Thank you.
Mandy, and hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. I'm going to share my screen, and also just so you know, this presentation won't just be me. I'm just going to open it up, and then I'll turn it over to others on the Safe Kids team to share with you guys today. Can everyone see my screen? If you can, let me know in the chat box that you're seeing what I have up here.
Yes, we can see your PowerPoint. You're doing great.
Okay, great. Thank you. So again, as I said, welcome. Pleasure to be here. Thanks to Amy for inviting the Safe Kids team to come and share a quick update about certification and to provide some information that will be helpful to many of you guys, especially during this time, this busy time, when a lot of technicians are trying to recertify. So as we all know, it's not been a typical year for anyone or any industry, including CPS. For many, many years, we've been doing in-person seat checks where we're used to interacting with families, being up close and personal, and educating them face-to-face. But since March, however, we all know the pandemic has forced us to be more innovative and to be resilient in the ways that we're able to serve families. So while following local guidelines. So instead of in-person checks, we're doing now more virtual education, more virtual inspections, and which provides us an opportunity to meet with or serve some families that may not have been able to make it out the fence. And although some places have loosened their restrictions, and as you can see on the slide, there has an increase in the number of classes held over the last couple of months, we know that things are still very far from being normal. And given the current situation and how things are going, it likely won't ever go back to normal, or will be in this state for a very long time. And even as the country opens back up, things may not go back to being exactly the same or normal in the field. So we know that this is a tough time for everyone. And as you all know or aware, many technicians and instructors were having a hard time completing some of their requirements earlier in the year. So in September, we introduced alternative options for the seat check and teaching hours requirements. And you'll hear more about this later on in the presentation. We introduced these because we wanted to make sure that we're keeping techs certified so that they can remain a resource in their community. And just wanted to let you guys know, Safe Kids, in partnership with NHTSA and the CPS board, will continue to assess the need to continue these alternatives based on the overall situation. And we will definitely be keeping techs and inspectors informed of any changes. Quality insurance is very important to us here at the certification program, and we are aware of the need to uphold the quality and integrity of the program. So you'll hear more about extensions later, but I just wanted to mention that extensions outside of the mass extensions that were given earlier in April, those are reviewed and assessed on a case-by-case basis. There are requests for very extended extensions there needs to be additional information and justification for the request before a decision is made. So we do our best to assess each situation and ensure that it meets the level of quality that is expected. Before I go and before I introduce the rest of the team, I know many of you are wondering, who do you contact at Safe Kids as it relates to certification since Carrie left? And I wanted to give you an update on that. So we are recruiting for the certification advisor position, and we are hoping to have this position posted by next week. We are excited, although the position is not yet posted. I've received over 20 people have contacted me from the field expressing interest in this position. So we are super excited about the pool of candidates that we have so far, and just waiting to officially kick this off once the position is posted, hopefully next week. So we are looking for someone who is innovative, strategic, and can help us build on the successes of the program so far, but also lead us to a stronger program for the current times. So if anyone is interested or knows of anyone who is interested, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can take it from there. And before I turn it over, I just want to say thank you to all of you for all that you do, especially now in these unprecedented times. We appreciate your passion and your commitment to keeping kids safe. And we really just appreciate the work that you do, especially for those of you who have a large number of techs that you're trying to help keep certified. We really do appreciate. Thank you. And then here, just want to introduce the rest of the team. You'll hear from them all today, as I mentioned earlier. If you are ever unsure of who to contact, you can't remember our name, just reach out to me and I can direct you in the right direction. We also have Wardell. He's our Senior Customer Service Associate. He can help you with recertifying, managing a course, any payment or fee issues. We have Stephanie, who's our Certification Associate, and she can help you with questions about CEUs and pre-approvals. And then we also have Debbie Landoskey, who's our Quality Assurance Specialist, and she can help you with any questions about audits. So again, thank you for having us and allowing us this time to share. And now I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie, and as Shushanna said, thank you for that, Shushanna. I am the Certification Associate for Safe Kids Worldwide. So we looked at some of the common questions that have come to us that we really want to answer for you today. And one of the first questions that comes up, as you saw there.
Can I interrupt you for just a quick second?
Sure.
Can the person that's on line 802 please mute your line?
And Mandy, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, but there's some background noise from an unmuted line. So can everyone please, thank you.
Okay, very good. So again, if you have questions about anything with your CEUs, I am the one that will be here for you to answer those. One of the top questions that comes up with us is, where can I find CEUs? Many of you know the answers to this, but it's always a great review. And as you can see, the CPS Express is one place that we will always add information for you where you can find CEUs. The certification Facebook page, if you have not liked that page, please go on and like that page. And then also on there, you will get CEU information. And always on the Safe Kids certification page, we list all of the new CEUs and any of the upcoming live webinars. And Shushanna, if you can go back one more real quick. We have a webinar tomorrow, and it keeps jumping back, Shushanna, one more. I'm not quite sure if it's jumping maybe on itself, but there we go. Not quite there yet. But we have a webinar tomorrow that is coming up at 2 o'clock Eastern time. So if you can make it to that webinar, that's great. Another place that you can go is the training.safekids.org. There are 8 CEUs available on that site. And please remember that you have to create a username and password for that site, as well as the National Child Passenger Safety Board. That one of the top questions that we get is, I'm not being able to see my certificate after I take the quiz. And the biggest reason is you need to go on and create yourself a login account. On the top second from the right tab, it says register. And so you want to make sure to register and always be logged in when you take those sessions. So as you can see, there are 10 CEU opportunities for technical education. There are 14 for the car seat manufacturers, and we also have community education opportunities on that site as well. Next slide, Shushanna. So some of the other additional available sites for earning CEUs are the Safe Kids Certification site, Safety Made Easier by Evenflow. Kansas has a site, Texas has a site, and Vertex also has a site, which is right now currently down for repairs. So if you do try to go onto that site, you will see that right now Vertex is down for repairs. But we have several areas that you can earn CEUs, and if you don't remember these on our CERT, Safe Kids CERT site, all of these are listed on that site that you can go to later and click on these and see how they give those opportunities for CEUs. Next slide. So the pre-approval application is something that I do for our technicians. You will find that application again under the frequently asked questions on our CERT site. And the biggest thing to know about the application is when you are putting in for this, the way that it will be approved is that just keep in mind that the content requirement is improving CPS technical knowledge. So anything that is something that they have already learned, maybe in their certification class, as far as latch plates, retractors, things that they've already learned would not be approved. It's new technical knowledge. So that's one of the top questions that we get. And then the participants must be provided with that proof of attendance when they have that CEU taken care of. Those files must be kept for a minimum of the 2 years from the date that is provided. And the pre-approval sessions, your approval form is good for the 1 year from the approval date. The question may come up, well, why is that? And we want to make sure that we keep the integrity of the program and that we keep the newest information there. And so your pre-approval session, if it's over a year, your event ID number is over a year, we're going to ask you to fill out another pre-approval application. Next slide. Next slide, Shushanna. So we do have our C-check alternative policy that we realized that with COVID, we needed another way for folks, if they could not do in-person C-checks, that we had an alternative for them. So the standard 5 reviewed C-checks is still going to be available, but now there is a new option. So you can submit up to 5 additional CEUs in place of the reviewed seats. And this can be in combination with your C-checks and your CEU. And the CEU will be equivalent to 1 reviewed C-check. So we also ask that the technician will acknowledge that they have confidence in their skills and they're confident in their ability to effectively communicate with parents and caregivers. So this is a great alternative if you cannot get together with an instructor or a proxy to have your C-checks reviewed. Just know that you can do 5 additional CEUs for those C-checks. What is important to remember, though, is that those also could be audited. So just like your 6 CEUs, you do need to keep proof of those C-check alternatives as well, that you have completed those if you do your CEUs that way. Next slide. So a big question that we get is, how do I enter those C-check alternatives? When you go to your profile page, you will see under the action item that there is the regular under the view summary, the add review CEUs. But if you're doing those C-check alternatives, you can see there by the second arrow that you need to put those C-check alternatives into that link. That is where the C-check alternatives would go. If you're doing your regular in-person C-checks, you're going to put those under add submit C-checks. Next slide. And then when you click on that C-check alternative, you're going to see where it says click to add the C-check alternative, and it will take you to that right side of the screen where you put in your C-check alternative hours. Next slide. So the CPST, the instructors also, we realize that again, with the pandemic, that it may not be possible to get your teaching hours. So you can submit additional community education hours in place of the teaching hours. And as you can see from the chart there, it will depend on how many. If you've done all of your 20 teaching hours, you do not need to do the community education. But if you have 0 to 10, you would do 5 community education hours. If you already have 11 to 19 teaching hours, then you would do 2 community education hours. And as I said, there are plenty of opportunities on the cpsboard.org site for community education hours. Next slide. So once all those are complete, then what happens next? And this is one of the common questions that we get. And you will see that once everything shows 100%, then under the action, it will say recertify and pay. That link will not show up until you are 100% complete with all the requirements. So just know that that link, if it's not there, that means that something is missing and you need to complete that before that link will show up. And once it's all complete, that link will show up. Next slide. So with that, I know that we're going to have time maybe at the end for some questions, but I'm going to hand it over to Debbie.
Hi, everyone. Good to see everyone. I'm Debbie Landoskey, the Quality Assurance Specialist. Everybody has probably either emailed me or talked to me on the phone, not possibly seen me. I'm responsible for everything to do with the auditing system. Once everyone receives their audit notification, all the information will be sent directly to me at cpsaudit@safekids.org. Once I review the information that was sent by the technician, they'll either be approved or I will recontact them and talk to them about maybe something that was not correct or they entered inappropriately, or possibly a CEU that they thought that would be approved was not. And then I'll give them plenty of time to make sure to fix that. We're not just going to eliminate their certification, but we will absolutely work with them to make sure that all of their CEUs are done correctly. You can go to the next slide. I'm going to talk to you about maybe a few questions that I've received from the field, and this is one of them. I'm a bit confused. My recertification application was 100% complete. Could you explain to me why now I do not have enough required credits for my audit? That simply means that they completed something that may not have been. Maybe they did a community education session, which they thought was a CEU, and it was not correct. I actually put an example on here, and it says, I actually did not complete my CEUs. I typed that in and the computer accepted that. The computer won't know the difference between what you enter. It will only know the number. If you look over to the right, I gave myself 3 CEUs for that session, which was really not a session. So if I did an audit on this technician, I would have to contact them back to make sure that we actually gave them enough time to complete maybe another CEU session. So don't worry about it. We'll work with everybody to make sure that their audits are taken care of. It's just about proper documentation on their own profile. Next slide. This slide will show the top issues I've found when conducting some of the audits. I just gave you an example of possibly doing a community education session versus a community education or continuing education sessions. See how easy it is to get those confused. The biggest thing is just know community education doesn't have any technical aspects to it. And like Stephanie said, to receive a CEU or a continuing education unit, there must be a technical aspect to it. Seat checks are not CEU sessions. I find this a lot. When someone attends a car seat checkup event, they actually put it down as a CEU session for each hour they're there. And that would actually count under your community education, because assisting families, that is not learning new technical information. Moderated versus non-moderated sessions. A moderated session is like a live session, maybe going to a conference, one of our webinars where we can actually interact, such as today, ask questions with the presenter. The non-moderated sessions are mostly our pre-recorded sessions. And if you do one of the pre-recorded sessions, there will be a quiz with it. So that's how somebody will know if it's going to be approved for a CEU or not. Make sure that all the quizzes are kept in addition to entering them into your profile. Another issue that I've come up with is newsletters and their paid subscriptions. I find a lot of technicians it's great, they share their newsletter subscriptions, but it's important to know that only the person who received the notification, maybe from Safe Ride News, that they were the subscriber, can get that CEU. Next slide. Okay, what are my options for keeping tech certified? This is a good question these days. And hopefully all the seat check alternatives have really helped with this question. We can still provide, obviously, seat check assistance through our virtual inspections and remote education, which all of that can be found on the Safe Kids Certification website. We want to keep all the technicians engaged, and we talk about maybe CEU sessions through Zoom, having just team meetings through Zoom to talk about new seats, new things in the field. Just be creative, how you keep your team together. And that's all that we ask. Next slide. Just a little bit more about the remote and virtual CPS education that we have on the CPS board or CPS certification website under resources. There's different toolkits that you'll find on there. So just log on there and you'll get a lot more information. Next. The next question that we've been getting is about extensions. Shushanna mentioned them a little bit. On the right, you'll find where we did all the extensions and how long all the extensions were. What happened was a lot of the extensions got sent to the end of the fiscal year. If you look at October, we had over 10,000 people that were actually eligible to recertify. That's because we ended up moving from March all the way through September, all of those technicians. So that might be one reason why you might see a few more audits than you used to in October, November, and December, because we had to push a lot more extensions down that way. And we'll decide if there's any other extensions on a case-by-case basis now. Next. And we've gotten this question, does everyone get an extension and is there a criteria? Shushanna touched on this, and the original extensions obviously were done in bulk. Now we're going to look at it as a technician by technician or a case by case basis, depending on what their need is. One of the things that we will look at is what have they completed in their 2-year cycle to determine if an extension is needed or not. If somebody comes to us now and is about to expire or just expired and possibly completed nothing in their 2 years, it's not really going to be warranted to offer an extension. But maybe a technician that did not hear about the seat check alternatives might have just expired. We can issue them a slight extension, maybe for a few weeks, but that's going to also determine on the need of the person. Next. And how long is an extension and how many extensions? The same thing. Everything now is a case by case. And as we get more information, Safe Kids will put out any information. For now, make sure that your technicians contact customer service directly if they're requesting to be extended for any reason. Next. Okay. The other question that I get is, how do I navigate the Safe Kids website and find expiration dates? A lot of the managers that have a team of technicians want to know exactly when they expire, when they need to recertify. So there is the organizational management system. All the technicians, they don't even have to be in your same agency. You can have a Safe Kids coalition, you can have a state coalition, and invite anybody into your organizational management system, but the technician has to approve being in your system. So there's a few ways that you can actually find out the expirations. Once you are in the organizational management system, I'll show you a screenshot in a minute of what that's going to look like. But you can actually create reminders in your Outlook if you have technicians expiring at different times. The system will allow you to create an Excel spreadsheet. You can put them in months. You can go to the next slide and I'll show you. Okay, in order to log into the organizational management system first, you would click on the green login button like you would into your regular profile and scroll all the way down. Generally, you can't see the organizational management section. So scroll all the way down and you will have to create a new account or a username and password for the organizational management because it is separate from your normal login for the CPSTs. Next. And here's a screenshot of what you will see. Once you're on your organizational management site, if you click on Manage Affiliates, the screen to the right is what will come up. This is how you can click on Add Affiliates. Once you locate the affiliate, it will notify that technician that you would like them to be a part of your organization, and they would have to approve it. If you notice in the center, any technicians that you have, your expiration dates are right there. So that's how you can organize when everyone is expiring. So now you can either take those expiration dates and put them into your calendar, or you can click on the right circle where it says Export to Excel. You can go to the next. And once you click that, you're going to get a spreadsheet with all of this information, including their name, their contact information, and most importantly, their expiration dates. Next. Okay, what if you're a coordinator that doesn't have access to that list? What are your options? And we're mostly talking about Safe Kids coordinators, local coordinators that might be within an agency. And there's a difference between being the Safe Kids or the state CPS coordinator and the Safe Kids coordinator. On profiles, each technician has to actually approve making all of their information public. Anyone who does not allow their information to be public Safe Kids cannot allow that information to be distributed. So you would have to go through your Safe Kids or your state CPS contact, maybe send an announcement for a class or an event to them, and it would be their decision whether they can send it out through their list that they have access to. Next. And now I'm going to turn it over to Wardell from customer service.
Hello, everyone. I'm Wardell Bonner. I am the senior customer service rep for the certification program. Glad to see everyone. I want to first just repeat what Shushanna commented on in reference to thanking everyone for their participation in keeping our kids safe. As the slide says, customer service is here to help. If you need assistance with name changes and payments and excuse me, as I said, name changes, anything that you need, technical support, you can send an email or you can give us a call. I'll be happy to help. I'm also helping with the alternative. If you need help with logging in your alternatives or where to put them, I'm here to help. The course management program, I'm here to help. I just want to say one thing in reference to payments that are being sent. If you can please just send, I get a lot of check payments that do not have any information accompanied with it. Let me know who the check is for. So that I can properly and process it. Oh, excuse me, I have something in my throat. I apologize. But again, I'm here to help. If you have any questions or anything that you need, just send an email. A lot of questions that I get in reference to emails, if some people are going online and they are saying that when they try to make a payment or they try to update their profile, they hit submit or they hit save and it just keep processing. Just one thing that I want to point out, that if you are using Internet Explorer, we found that that's not compatible with our site. If you can use Google Chrome, that would be best to go through the process. So again, if you guys have any questions, just send an email or you can give me a call and I'll be happy to help.
Thank you. I know that we had a few questions in the chat box, so I'm going to read those off. We'll take about 2 minutes and then we're going to hop on over to our next presentation. We want to make sure we have plenty of time for that. Shushanna, they were wondering what the Facebook page was that you referred to, and Tammy Franks had mentioned that it was the National CPS Certification page. Is that correct?
I think I think that was Stephanie who made the reference, but yes, the certification Facebook page.
Perfect. And then one other question, how long will our alternatives be allowed for recertification?
So as I mentioned, we have not put a stop date on the alternatives. So we are monitoring what's happening. At many places are still not able to hold in-person events, and many inspection stations are still closed. So we're monitoring the situation, and if there are any changes or when there are any changes, we will definitely send communications out to all of the technicians. But there isn't a stop date as of right now.
Perfect. Thank you for that information. We will come back to more questions at the end, but we would like to get to Bevan and Allan, the state CPS coordinators from North Carolina. They have some additional information for us on technician retention. So we'll go ahead and turn it over.
Great, thank you. I'm going to share my screen. All right, can you guys see that okay?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, great. So my name is Bevan Kirley, and I work at the UNC Highway Safety Research Center. and I'm joined by Allan Buchanan from Safe Kids North Carolina, and we're going to kind of tag team and go back and forth a bit to tell you about kind of efforts that are going on in the state of North Carolina to maintain our technician population. So first, I want to tell you a little bit about the state of North Carolina. And let's see, go forward. There we go. Okay, so in North Carolina, we are the 9th most populous U.S. state with over 10 million people. We do have 100 counties, and those counties range in population from fewer than 5,000 individuals to over 1 million people. So as you might imagine, the needs of those individual counties are going to be pretty varied with those very wide distributions in population. The state on the whole is very rural, although we do have our kind of concentrated populations in the more urban areas. And our western part of our state is very mountainous. We've got the highest point, the highest peak east of the Mississippi River, Mount Mitchell, in our western part of our state. And then the eastern part of our state is our Outer Banks, those barrier islands that are off the coast of North Carolina. So it's a pretty diverse state in terms of all of the different needs that we have. And so we have a large program, and we're going to tell you a little bit about that. So, Allan.
So hey everybody, yes, you're correct, Bevan. We do have a very large program in our state, and we thought we'd kick this off with some fun facts. Our program, believe it or not, we have over 3,000 technicians, 260 permanent check-in stations, and 46 Safe Kids coalitions. But just kind of give you some out-of-the-box thinking, some little fun facts you may or may not know about North Carolina. We just had Thanksgiving, so if you had sweet potatoes on your table, there's a good chance they may have been grown in North Carolina, because over half the sweet potatoes sold in the U.S. are grown right here in our state. Believe it or not, for those of you who ever heard about a Venus flytrap, it is native to our North Carolina coast. So if you want to see a Venus flytrap, come on to North Carolina. For you baseball fans, Babe Ruth actually hit his first home run in professional baseball in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So that's pretty interesting fact there for you. And for those American Idol fans that still watch reality TV, we have had more American Idol finalists than any other state in the United States. We even had quite a few winners like Scotty McCreery, Fantasia, and Caleb Johnson. And then of course, if you're a donut lover like a lot of people in our state, Krispy Kreme was actually started right here in Winston-Salem, as well as for those hot sauce fans, Texas Pete. And then of course, for the soda drinkers, you probably heard the phrase born in Carolina for Pepsi. Well, Pepsi actually was started in New Bern, and its original name was Brad's Drink. So just a little bit of fun facts there for you. Next slide, Bevan. So we have this awesome program, and we actually have 3 great agencies that come together to make the CPS program work in North Carolina. And without the amazing work from each one of the individuals from these partners, it's really would be hard to pull off such a large program. So our key players in the CPS program are, of course, the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program. And without them, we wouldn't have funding for our program. So we do appreciate all the funding that they give us to keep the program going. So we can actually, with such a large program, it does take a lot of money to keep it going. So we really appreciate that support that they give us. And of course, mine and Bevan's agencies, UNC Highway Safety Research Center, which Bevan works for, they do provide a lot of resources. They have 3 support staff. And of course, they give, provide some educational opportunities as well for the technicians and instructors in our state. And then of course, my agency, Safe Kids North Carolina, which is actually under the North Carolina Department of Insurance, Office of State Fire Marshal. We have 8 staff right now that work towards child passenger safety. We do have 3 admin people that really provide a lot of support to us. We have an awesome director, Shannon Bullock, and then we have 4 field staff that really provide a lot of support to our technicians in the field. So we're here to kind of help them as they need, find seat checks and things like that. So we really do have a great staff and 3 great agencies that come together to, form this collaborative effort. And then in addition to the key players, there's actually 3 state committees that worked, have a common goal for child passenger safety. First one, of course, is Occupant Protection Task Force. And then, of course, our own North Carolina Child Passenger Safety Board, which is, of course, our advocates that come together to give us information so that we can make improvements as needed. and then the CPS Executive Committee, which is primarily made up of the key players, that the 3 key agencies up there. And of course, we work to improve the program as much as possible, and we meet regularly. So without the support of all these, it would really be hard to pull off our program.
And if we look into our certification numbers, this is where we're at as of right now, December 4th. We do have 44 instructors and 1 person who's currently going through the process to become an instructor right now. We have 2,900 CPS technicians and then an additional 103 technicians who have applied to be a technician proxy as well. This does represent a little bit of a decrease in what we're used to seeing as far as our technician numbers. And most of that has to do with the fact that we really have had limited capacity to have classes in 2020 due to COVID-19. So we're looking forward to getting our numbers back up to where we're used to them being in 2021, when we can have as many classes as we want again. So if we look at our recertification numbers, this shows the North Carolina recertification rate in orange and the national recertification rate in blue. And this is for the past 5 years, January through October. So kind of the most recent data we have on that. You can see North Carolina is consistently above the national average for recertification and does hover right in that mid to upper 60s. Certainly that's not as high as maybe some of you have in your states, but given how large our program is, that's a number we are comfortable with. Obviously we'd like it to be higher, but we do feel like we're reaching a good number of people with our efforts. Notably, in 2020, we did see that dip in October for our January through October rates in 2020 on the national level. North Carolina, we're feeling good. Our numbers did stay a bit consistent, so we're hopeful that that's indicative that our efforts are working, and we hope to see that number continue as we get more data released.
All right, so yes, while that orange line I think is good, before I retire, I definitely wanted 70% somehow. So we're going to keep working towards that to get it there. But we do have some challenges, believe it or not, in our state. Like many of you, there are some challenges that we encounter. The first, of course, there may be a wrong email address in the certification profile. And this is very difficult. And we'll talk about these a little bit more as we go. Getting the information out to people is sometimes very tough. Communication is always the key. And, if there's no way to communicate with our technicians, it really breaks down a lot of our efforts. Text needs to be used for recertification, as you just heard about in the previous from CPS certification. So, finding opportunities to provide them for our technicians. Of course, the instructor proxy to verify the skills for that recertification element. Financial constraints are big as well. And of course, that's the fact that people just don't read email, believe it or not. And I'm sure like many of you, we all get lots of email. Next slide. So the biggest challenge is the wrong information in profile. Believe it or not, some people just don't register themselves for a class. The picture you see on your screen actually was a class we did recently. One of the very few classes we've gotten to do since COVID started. And you see a lot of blue shirts. They're all from one fire department. And typically when you have recruits from a fire department, one person usually registers them all. So maybe the training officer registers. And the biggest problem we see is that one person puts in their email for every person. So unfortunately, if we want to go back and contact them, that one email will be in every profile. So the solution for that is while we have them in class right there in front of us, we would like to update their information and verify that roster. So we have current contact information for them before they leave us. And that's kind of key. So in the future, if they do change jobs or something, or that training officer leaves, then of course we still got contact with that person. The other problem that we see is maybe the employer changed the email system, and sometimes employers change their system. They go from a .gov to a .com or .net, whatever the case may be. So, when that email changes and they don't update the profile, that is a big problem that we see. So a couple of things we do. We do send our CPS tech lists to our local programs like CPS Coalition Coordinators, our local permanent check-in stations, etc. just so that they can make contact with those technicians. And for some reason they get email bounce backs, they're local, they can go check in with the technician, maybe at the fire station, health department, or wherever they may work. So it does help by providing those lists. And of course, they can keep up with their expiration dates and make contact when they're expiring as well. And unfortunately, if you got the wrong info, even though a reminder is sent by mail, if the right address is not there, or unfortunately, sometimes it just doesn't make it to them because it goes to the wrong place. Take, for instance, I work for the state. So sometimes my mail doesn't always make it to me because I'm not always at the office. So maybe there's multiple fire stations and it goes to that headquarters or city hall, whatever the case may be, it just may not make it to them. So keeping that information up to date in that profile is very key to keeping them certified.
So once we have their information, hopefully correct, we have to reach out to them with information. And we do this through an email system that one of my colleagues developed here at the Highway Safety Research Center. It is completely based on the certification data. We download the data directly from the certification website and upload it to our email system. So it takes into account expirations and new certifications and whatnot. Through this email system, we can send out targeted emails based on what type of information we need to get out to our technicians. We have a large state. We may not need to send a training opportunity to all 3,000 technicians in the state. We may want to just target it to the counties that are most likely to attend, because it may take 9 hours to drive across our whole state. So we are aware that we do not want to overwhelm people with information. So we try to make sure that we're sending information only to the people who need it. We can send things based on different certification levels. We can send things to expired, to currently certified people, to instructors only. We can send it by region, by groups of counties, by one county. We can send things to individual programs, to anything really. We have the capability of doing that. And so that's one way that we reach out to our technicians to make sure that they have access to the information they need. So another challenge we identified is getting CEUs to recertify. Now, obviously, as Safe Kids presented, there are plenty of opportunities out there for people to get their CEUs. So we do try to make sure that all technicians are aware of those. But in addition to that, the state of North Carolina does provide additional opportunities more locally. And these opportunities are offered at, you would say, a variety of price points, basically, because we do realize that not all programs have the capability of sending people to conferences or paying for registration fees or anything like that. So there are conferences offered in the state. Those would probably be our more expensive options. They might require travel or a hotel stay. The Safe Kids Injury Prevention Conference is held annually and has CEU opportunities there. The North Carolina Traffic Safety Conference is held biennially, and that also has CEUs. Those reach somewhat different audiences, so that's kind of a great way to target people kind of where they're more likely to attend. There are other conferences in the state where there may be a CEU or two appear, but those are kind of the main avenues. We've also had regional symposia, so those are going to be a one-day, partial day event, so no travel, no hotel stays, things like that. So a lesser cost. We focus very heavily on the rural areas to try to reach people who maybe don't have the resources to travel out of their area. We've had good success with the one that we've done in the past. We actually had 4 scheduled for 2020, and unfortunately we had to cancel all of them, but we are looking forward to trying that again in 2021. In addition, we do have our webinar series that we started this summer when we had to cancel all of our training, and that is obviously a free resource. This summer we held 13 webinars, including one that counted for community education, and the rest were CEUs. We had over 1,300 people register and attend those webinars, mostly from North Carolina, but we did have participation from other states, which was a fun surprise. And certainly we welcome, different perspectives from other states as well. So that was fun to see. And then we are planning for an additional webinar series in 2021, and we've got some fun things that we have in the works for that as well.
So I think anybody who's ever surveyed technicians on why they aspire, most of the time you hear the seat check sign-offs are one of the biggest things we hear back. So this year, you know, COVID basically shut down everything, just like in many states. Here, definitely our programs kind of stopped. Unfortunately, people won't check in seats. You know, just a lot of issues. We have 3,000 technicians in the state that cover 100 counties. And out of those 3,000 technicians, we have 44 instructors. But this kind of break it down, we kind of went in a panic because we had 900 plus technicians that were going to expire between October and December. And when you multiply 900 times 5, of course, you get 4,500 seats. You do the math, that's about 100 seats per instructor. And with nothing going on or making, you know, there was just a lot of challenges there. The picture you see there is actually from our instructor meeting that we did pre-COVID this year. So we do have a great group of instructors and they are great to work with, but that's a big task to take on when you have that many seats to sign off in such a short period of time. So we really rely on our technician proxies. They are a great resource for our state. And if you're not taking advantage of the technician proxy level, I highly, highly encourage you to take advantage of it. We have 103 throughout our state. And we are very thankful that we have them because they actually help keep our technicians certified. And they actually provide a lot of coverage in our rural areas that we just don't, instructors just don't have the capability to get to. So it's reducing that coverage area that we need. It's great for fire departments where we have maybe everybody certified there. That one senior technician who's became a proxy, maybe they're an officer in the department, probably can do a better job signing the seats off for the technicians than I would just seeing them one time. So I encourage you to trust the process that's put in place and, you know, mentor your proxies, develop some proxies in the state. They really do help keep your technicians certified. And then of course, we are planning to actually do, you know, we do like keeping up to date or in touch with our instructors and proxies. So we do have regular meetings with them. We'll be doing another instructor meeting very, very soon at the start of 2021. And then of course, we'll keep do a proxy meeting as well. So proxies are a valuable resource. Next. This is just a quick map of the breakdown of our technician state. I won't spend a lot of time, but we do have 96 counties currently out of 100 that have technicians in them. We have 4 locations that don't. They actually cover a small population of about 42,000, so not a big population is without coverage. We do have a class coming up in one of the locations without technicians, so we're very excited to begin those hopefully next year when things are much, much better. But, you know, it's a big area from the mountains to the coast to cover, as they say, as far as Carolina, but we're happy to have our technicians in so many locations. With that said, and you go to the next slide, you'll see in this such a large area, this is where our 44 instructors. And they do cover a lot of urban areas, but there are a lot of locations where a technician would have to travel 100+ miles to get to an instructor if that's the only, you know, opportunity they had for seat sign-off. So that would make it very difficult for the technicians to actually, you know, stay certified if we just relied on instructors only. Next, please. But when you add in our technician proxies, you can see that coverage area decreases a lot. And we actually have a lot better opportunities for our technicians to get those seat sign-offs. In most cases, there's either a technician or a proxy in a neighboring county now that they can actually reach out to and be able to, you know, gain access for those opportunities like events and, you know, to get the necessary seat sign-offs that they need.
And just as an example, we just wanted to pull out one region to show kind of how the proxies help in North Carolina. Cumberland County, North Carolina, is a county that includes Fort Bragg, at least part of Fort Bragg, which is the largest U.S. Army base by population. Has over 500,000 active duty soldiers. It has civilian employees, all of their families. It's a huge population right there. In addition to having the city of Fayetteville, which in and of itself is a large community. Fort Bragg, you know, as you might imagine, it's a constantly changing population of people. So it's a really high need area as far as CPS techs. There are 107 CPS techs in Cumberland County. There's Cumberland County right there. And if you add in our instructors, you can see that in that area, we have one instructor in Cumberland County who became an instructor just in August, and we're so excited to have him on board. But if you look at this area, there are very few instructors in this area. And just as an example, you know, to go from here to here, it's about 2 hours to the coast. So it's not an easily, you know, travel distance to be handling 107 CPS techs. But when you add in our proxies, you can see again that in these rural areas, you are getting better coverage. And in fact, you know, these stars indicate that there are proxies, not how many there are. And in fact, in Cumberland County, there are 6 proxies. So 6 proxies plus 1 instructor, that's 7 people who can help keep those technicians certified. In addition to a 6 in Robeson, there's a couple in Lee, a couple in Moore. There's a whole bunch around here. So it's a really beneficial program.
So financial constraints are sometimes one of our biggest challenges that we see, especially right now. A lot of budgets have been cut, but in our smaller rural areas, they have a lot of limited resources. Some of them may even be volunteer fire departments. And let's face it, volunteer fire departments have a very limited budget. So with that in mind, I'm very happy to say that CPS North Carolina actually has the opportunity to cover recertification fees for our technicians and instructors this year, starting this year. And thanks to Governor's Highway Safety Program providing that funding to us, this is a great thing to offer to the technicians and instructors who are out there doing the work in the field. We're very happy to offer this opportunity to them. And, you know, it's been a great way to keep our technicians certified. The other, you know, opportunities, we're able to offer CEUs at various price points, free. Bevan touched on it earlier. We offer the 13 webinars. You know, it seems like our in-state people like that, you know, like that personal touch when we do offer things in state. They seem to better relate to that for some reason. And with that said, if anybody would like to do a webinar for us, please feel free to contact us. Next, please. So the biggest challenge of all is, believe it or not, people don't read their emails. And sometimes it takes a little bit of personal touch to get, you know, the process started, especially for those first-time recerts. They're confused, believe it or not. The CPS website, for some reason, is a challenge to them, you know, and they need a little bit of hand-holding and personal assistance. Reminders make a big difference. So I want to, you know, give a shout out to our staff because they do a great job of now reaching out to our technicians. We started providing that personal touch with those little reminder emails starting about 2 months out, because we find the farther you go out, it kind of gets forgotten, unfortunately. So about 2 months out, we're reminding them that, hey, your expiration date's coming up. You know, these are things you need to do. We provide a personal little contact so they can actually reach out. And they like that because they feel like they're reaching out to somebody who cares and that actually wants to help them. So it makes a huge difference. We've seen a lot of people, you know, they're very appreciative of that personal touch. And then even though they aspire, we like to follow up even with those that have aspired. So believe it or not, it's kind of funny. They may not read any other email, but they read the survey email and they've actually responded to the survey. And interesting enough, you know, I'm sure, you know, a lot of you see it as well. Some of them actually never plan on recertifying to start with. They take the class and they're only there for the 2 years. Maybe they need a promotion. They, you know, whatever the case may be, they actually never plan to certify. But I do want to just quickly give a shout out to CPS Certification. They have been great to work with over the past few months. We really appreciate the help that you provide the technicians in our state. So thank you to them as well.
And just to wrap up, I know we're right at the end of our time here. So just, we always suggest advocating. You never know, if you're experiencing a problem in your state, you're probably not the only one. So there's no harm in bringing it up to the CPS board as something that's a challenge that you're experiencing. And, you know, we've done that with the technician proxy program. We've brought ideas to Safe Kid Certification, and, you know, they may say, no, there's nothing we can do about it, but there may be an idea that can help others as well. And just to conclude, you know, there's going to be new challenges. We don't know what they are, but we're doing our best to reach out to them as best we can. And this is actually a picture from a class Allan and I both did where, you know, unexpected challenges. Sometimes you go out to do skills and this is in the parking lot and you got to deal with it. So, you know, always challenges. And here's our information. I know we're at the end of our time. So thank you.
Bevan and Allan, thank you so much. This is really great information. And I don't know about all of you, but I'm all of a sudden thinking about technician proxies and how we can use that. And I did get a little giggle out of the not reading the emails. You know, we all do our very, very best. I realize that we are right at time, and I'm sure that you've got questions, but I'd like to invite you to send your questions to amy.artuso@nsc.org or secretariat@cpsboard.org. And Shushanna from Safe Kids is going to share the presentation that Stephanie gave us earlier today. I know we had a little bit of a hard time hearing her, so that way that information will be available. And we will share that with the listserv. But again, thank you so much for joining us today. And please send in your questions and please send in your suggestions. And one more huge shout out for all of our speakers today. We really appreciate your time and all of this wonderful information. And we look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you, everyone. Amy, can you end the recording, please?